Today is Teach the World to Sew Day. I used to say the only thing on my bucket list was to learn how to use a sewing machine. During the pandemic, my client gave me a really old Singer. I looked up YouTube videos and I found some tutorials, and somehow I figured out how to use it. I had been hand sewing since I was a child. My grandmother taught me how. This is my new sewing area. I've taken up sewing recently, so that has been super fun, but you have to be really careful around cats with that. So I began to make simple toys that I sold on Etsy. I made a combination of hand-sewn and machine-sewn toys. The Furballs were a big part of this whole process. I used to cut out all the patterns and do all the hand sewing on my bed. I had to be very careful around the cats, but they just seemed to like to watch me, like it was cat TV. One of the few things that I took with me when we evacuated from the Palisades fire was my sewing bag. And recently my friend gave me an inexpensive Singer, so I want to begin sewing again. But here's the thing, something that could be so healing is so incredibly painful for me. And that's because all these toys that are in this video took me hundreds of hours to make, and they all burned in the Palisades fire. Not only that, I made them with Merlin, Elfin, and Buddha. And many of you may have noticed that I haven't been doing much on Etsy. That's because I lost all my stock, my tools, my fabrics, all the templates that I had created. So it's been very difficult to start again. But here's the thing, I love to sew, and I have a lot of new ideas for things that I want to make. One of the things I did during the pandemic to learn how to sew was I learned how to sew making cat dolls. I can't tell you how many times I said to myself, why didn't I take the two dolls off of my bed? That would have been Lala and Tata. That was such a big project for me to make those two dolls, and they were certainly two of my most prized possessions. But I can remake those two dolls, so I'm going to begin again. So I booked some sewing classes over at Stitch Space. They will teach me how to use my new machine. And they have all sorts of classes at Stitch Space. Besides sewing classes, they also have embroidery, wool felting, crocheting. This past week I replaced some of my tools and I got this really cool ghosty cover for the machine. So I'm super excited. So it's going to be a whole new era of sewing.